very happy that the slow did not impede you from coming.
We'll try. Almost.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us pray for justice, for peace, especially in the Middle East. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Mary, seat of wisdom, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So last class, we studied the government at the philosophical approach and the foundation of the government. And we saw that any government, any authority, not only government for the city, the government of the diocese, the government of a religious community, a seminary, university, we need authority. The authority is the mean that make the whole functioning well. So this morning we studied the law, because the authority express the common good, the obligation for the people to tend to the common good through the law. The law is, I will say, the voice of authority. The law is the voice, the expression of authority. So it is important to have a reflection on that problem. In fact, that paragraph, civil law, is attached to a government. They are together. In one book, Father Fagoté put them in the same chapter. In another book, he separated them. But in fact, they are linked one with another. First, a fact that the government, any state have a government, any organization has a government. That government is a means to allow people to tend toward their end. No, their end it is security, comfort, hygiene, all those things in the civil society. And finally, their final end to be able to attain their eternal destiny. But in every organization, a state or the church, the same thing. We have canon. We have many means. Not only the government is there, but you must use some means. And you have three powers. Usually there are three powers. I'm going to study that in politics. We have those who think how we can attain the good, the common good. How? Those who pass the law, we call that the legislative power. In fact, the legislative, lex, legislatum, the law, the law. Well, those are thinking how the people, or the member of the congregation, or the member of the club can attain. So we make some rules, some laws. The legislator. Well, in some country, they are, we call the representative. Those who are elected to think about the way of helping people to attain justice, to attain peace in the country. Now, it's not sufficient to pass law. We have to put them into practice. To put the law from the mind, from the theory, to the practice. We call that the executive power. In fact, they don't make the law, but they apply the law. The British system, we have in England or in Canada, for example, in Australia, and we have the legislative are we call the representative, or in French, the député, those who are elected. And from those who are elected, we have someone who are chosen to run the country. We call that executive. They are not apart. Here in the United States, you have separate. You have the Congress, you have the Senate. They are legislative. Legislative. And we have the executive, which is the president and his staff. But in England, in France, not in France. Yes, in France also. In France the same. In England, in France, in the executive, the minister, we say, yeah, or they are elected. They are not nominated by the prime minister. So they must be elected. So they are representative. And among the representatives, the prime minister choose someone to be those who will put into practice the decision. So it's interesting because at the same time, they are legislators and they are executive. That is interesting. So they must be prudent to vote for a law they can apply. Here, those who execute, they don't vote for that. But you know, in England, in Canada, in Australia, the prime minister with the executive power is also voting, is a part of the deputy. But that's another way of administrating, you know. But what is important, we need someone who have the power to put into practice. But sometimes there can be error, there can be exaggeration, you know. So every country, every organization, we have a judicial power. That means to control if the laws are just according to the Constitution, and to see if the application of the law is conform to the Constitution or the common good. So that is the three. In fact, we can say any government is like the Holy Trinity. We have necessarily three powers. Okay? So we have to reflect on the necessity of positive law. I don't speak here about the necessity of natural law because it's obvious. We have to obey natural law. We have no choice. I cannot go to the top of St. Peter and say, no, I decide I am a bird. No, the bird will not be very far. It will not be up, it will be down. So the natural law are not clear. Because if the natural law was clear, everyone will obey easily, and there will be no discussion about what is natural law. So the natural law must be precise. It is a need. You have that in the Old Testament, the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments is a positive law. Don't forget, it's a positive law. From God, it's a positive. If God exists, you do that. You know? In the natural law before, for Abraham, for example, there was a natural law. You shall not kill. Abraham knew that you shall not kill, you shall not steal, shall not perjury, shall not use the name of God in vain. He knew that. But, you know, sometimes passion, and we forget. We don't listen to our father, to our grandfather. We want to do our own. So God he said, hey, now be careful. If you want to obey natural law, you must obey the 10 Commandments. That is a positive law, but it's not a civil law. So the civil law is a law that, little by little, because the civil law is not made in one for all, that developed from the time of people begin to live together. They make laws to say how together we have to live, or we can live together in harmony, in justice, in peace. So that law was developed little by little. Even the United States, Canada, all those laws are developing. Every year we have new laws, no? Because circumstances are changing. Because the circumstances change, so we have to adapt the laws, natural law, to precise what will be natural law. I give you an example, very simple. In 1945, I remember I was 10 years old at that time, and my uncle, where I was living during the summer, has a farm on the highway from Montreal to Toronto. It was the most important road in Canada. And the truck all the day passed from the house. But the speed was 45 miles per hour. 45. So that means at that time 45 was considered as very fast. I remember when I was high school, one of the brother, he was driving 60 miles per hour. 60 miles, he was going fast, you know. Today, 60 miles per hour, you are a turtle, huh? Especially in Connecticut. Huh? So, you know, we have to adapt the law. So what they did, they said, no, 45, no, we have to put that 55. After that, they put that to 60, you know. Here, 65 miles per hour. In some country, like Germany, they have no limit. Okay, in Italy there was no limit, but after that they put a limit, 130 kilometers, about 80 miles per hour. So we must precise, otherwise that becomes dangerous. When the car became numerous in the United States, what they were obliged to fix? Traffic lights, no? Imagine what traffic light would happen. So, why we have that? Because we have to respect the life of others. So, civil law is there to help people to formulate how we have to live our natural law. As a human being, we must have some rule for example, it is necessary for your health to sleep. So we can form a rule in the seminary or in your family after 10, for example, p.m., no more noise. Everyone try to be silent, be quiet. That is a law. But that law is expression of justice. It is a justice for everyone to have the capacity and a climate to sleep. So you understand, the civil law is a complement, is an interpretation, is an explanation, precision of the natural law. So we have two forms of positive law. We have a form which is declarative, so I follow Father faculty, indicate what the moral law prescribes. Draw conclusion from the natural law. For example, the 10 Commandments are an example of that, you know. Or in your country, I'm sure every country has a law against murder, against perjury. Perjury is a crime. It's a crime, it's a crime because it is in the civil law. But as a moral law, it's not a crime, it's a sin. You know, the difference between a crime and a sin. Abortion is always a sin, but it's no more a crime. It is the distinction between legality and morality. Morality. Okay. Secondly, it can be also determinative, positive law. That means they indicate the ways we have to act according to the natural law, to the moral law, but they are not deductible from the natural law. The example I've got is traffic light. The bus at the corner of the street, the stop, or the taxes, collection of taxes. There is no uniformity, there is no natural law to say you have to pay 10% of taxes. No, that the 10% or 15% is indicated by the civil law, but it is an determination of the natural law. What is natural law? Says you have to practice justice. You have to give to others what is due. When you pay taxes, you practice justice, strict justice. Okay. Now, why natural law are necessary? But we said that because selfishness of men. That is a fact. We cannot deny that everywhere in the world we meet some Homer Simpson. We think only about himself. And we see some Marge Simpson, very generous. So that means, here I don't speak about as a theologian. I speak only as a historian of the humanity. Man from everywhere, in every country, women also, we are selfish. That means we are defending first our own interest. And sometimes we prefer to defend our own interest rather than the common good. And because of that, we must have laws. The natural law is there, But the natural law is not enough for certain. They must be pushed. For example, it is a duty and justice to pay your taxes, okay? If there was no law, who will spontaneously, with a smile, will write to Mr. Obama, I am very happy to send you $5,000. Nobody will do that, no? Except a few crazy ones. Huh? But you have to practice justice. We need a civil law to determine what is justice for you here and now. You know that the civil law is very important. Huh? And if you understand that, you understand that when you obey civil law, finally you obey natural law. In fact, what gives the what gives the strength to the civil law, it is the natural law. The majority of the citizens in the country, they obey not because there is a policeman, because they obey their conscience. When I drive, I see a red light, I stop. I don't watch if there is a cop here or a cop there. I know I must to stop because it is a question of justice and respect of life. If I don't stop, I will provoke an accident, I can kill someone, you know. So that is common sense. No? We have to write on, here in the United States, Canada, we drive on the right side of the road. If you go to England, be careful. No? You have to respect the law. In England, we say to be prudent, you have to write on the left side. But that is a precision of natural law. I cannot change as I want. No? So, yes.
Is human conscience formed by natural law or social
No,
principle?
my conscience is not formed by natural law, but my conscience expresses natural law. If my conscience is right, if my conscience is wrong, of course, if I was educated in a family and they told me that the virtue is to steal, every day you must bring something. I know a case in Canada when I was a young teacher. I was told that some children, they were not allowed to come back at noon to eat if they did not steal something. You know, that exists, it's not a dream, that exists. So if you are educated in a family where stealing is the norm, of course your conscience is wrong. Okay? That you see, very extreme importance of the education, the family education. Because where do you form your conscience? On the laps of your mother. In your family. It is there we form our conscience. And if the conscience is not wrong, is not right, but it's difficult after to continue. So because of that, we must have civil law. Okay. Civil laws are to correct the bad understanding, the wrong understanding we can have of, that is the second. The first is the fact we are selfish. The second is because we can be also wrong in our way of judging. For someone to steal is a sport. It's a sport. To steal watches, somebody told me about that recently. Watch disappear. Pencil disappear, wallet disappear. They are specialized in that, pickpocket. It is a sport for them. They like that. They have fun, they have money at the same time. Yeah. But those who kill animals without permission outside of time, they do wrong, but they have fun. We can have fun when we do wrong, no? What they did recently in horrible, when they burned the young pilot, they kill him, they will burn him living in a cage, and they film that. You know, that is not natural, it's against the so we must recognize that we are not innocent. We are not innocent. When you were young, you were inclined to think that's my truck, that is my doll, don't touch my business. You have a little corner, you, my sister, don't come, that's for me. He said, don't come, don't touch my doll. No? Okay, I continue. The third point, there is often a choice of being to the end. Another thing, we want to tend to the end, common good, justice, but imagine if everyone decides the means to tend toward that. It will be anarchy. So we must have a law to indicate you have to tend to the common good in such a way. That is the word of the legislator. The legislator has a great, great responsibility. Great responsibility. Why? Because even when they die, the law continues to exist. If the law is wrong, is bad, but their influence continues to exist. You know? Think about abortion. The fact also, I told you that the society is changing. You must adapt the laws, not to change natural law. Natural law does not change, but civil law must explain how people in our country have to respect natural law. For example, natural law say everyone has a right to be to keep a good reputation. No. Now today we have the internet. The internet did not exist at the time of Moses. So we can destroy a reputation in a few seconds. It is sufficient to put a tricky picture on the internet, and immediately the reputation of a man or a woman can be destroyed forever. You know? That we must have laws. We'll speak about the internet. Those laws are not in the natural law, but they have to say how now, today, we have on the internet to respect the reputation of someone, you know, to practice justice. That is the role of the legislator, and their role is essential to the good functioning of any organization. Okay. The second part here. Now we have to speak about the laws of nation. Here I spoke from the beginning about the law in the country or in the community, in the society. Now let us speak about a special case we call the law of nation. Or in Latin, jus gentium. Gentis in Latin means people, nations. So they use the right and the law of nations. In fact, the law of nation, it is a fruit of the wisdom, I will say, of the Roman. You know, the Roman are the champion for law. The Greek were the champion for philosophy, but the Roman were the champion for law. In fact, our laws in Occidental, the Western world, they are inspired a lot by the Roman laws. And one of the Roman laws was that kind of law that allow each nation to run the most they can their internal affair, you know, according to their own law. Then the Roman, when they went to a country, for example, they went to Israel. You remember that in the Bible we see that they kept the king. Who was the king of Herod? Herod continued to be the king of the Jews. But he was under the control of the Roman. But the Roman did not say, you have to adapt our laws. No. They say, run your business as you do, but be careful. Don't contradict our laws. So what they did that in every country. And when they realized that in every country, there is something common to everyone. You take the laws of the United States, of France, of Germany, of Uganda, Cameroon, there is not common, and there is the point different. So they try to put what is common, and they extract the common element, and they call that the jus gentium. And it is, in fact, the foundation of our law and our international law. It is not an international law, because there is not an authority above, but it was a law common to many countries. You know, for example, the authority of the father. You know, it was recognized. Marriage was an institution recognized everywhere. So even at that time, to be married, to live outside of marriage was not considered as legal. It was illegal. So they have laws for many things. And in fact, the English common law is inspired by that, the English common law. That English common law is based a lot on what we call the precedents. The precedents. What happened before? I spoke about that last class. They take what the cause happened, how it was settled, and we try to use that to settle the problem. It is the way, for example, they settle. Okay, everybody must, people living together, if they want to have right, they must have some legal recognition. Well, it is a fact that many men and women, they live together outside of marriage, and they have children. That became complex. What they do, they have a common law. Finally, they try to find an agreement to recognize a kind of legality to that situation. You know, that is inspired by the common law. In fact, the common law was inspired by the virtue we call equity. That means we don't apply the letter of the law, but we try to apply the spirit of the law, and we adapt. You know, and it's interesting to see that in Great Britain, the common law is from the Magna Carta, the 12th century, was continued today to be applied because it is supple. It is the same thing. So we have a law written, but we have a law also. It is a kind of custom. You know. The custom become a time. What they did, it was good, but we can say because it was good for them, but okay, we can apply that, adapting to the circumstance today. Okay, so I go to the jus gentium. The jus gentium is not natural law. Be careful, it's not natural law, but it is close to natural law. It is a positive law. But that positive law, in fact, embodies, includes natural law. So the wisdom of the Roman, in fact, they were very practical people. If they were, imagine the empire of the Roman from Scotland to India. You see the map? Huh? It's the all Western Europe and all North Africa. All that was Roman. And they have no telephone, they have no internet, and they were able during 300-400 years, 600 years to control all that. They control that because they use their common sense, the law of nation. And that law of nation is able to adapt to many people. No? So that is, we say, it is not a natural law, but that law, because it applies to many, embodies and put in, assimilate, if you want, the natural law. It is not a law based on nature, but that law expresses nature. The law of marriage, for example, they are almost the same everywhere. Children have to be protected by people who are civilly, they have a status necessary for their survival, necessary after the death of the parent, inheritance. All those things were almost the same in every country. There are distinctions, but the problems are the same. In every country, you have problem of inheritance. When the father died, the mother died, who have the good, the wealth, the property, etc. So the jus gentium, the law of nation, in fact, was a kind of international law, but not strictly speaking, like today we have international law for copyright, for example, for airplane, for aviation, they have international law. Or imagine if there was no international law for aviation, it would be a big mess, huh? We have an international law for aviation. The site, the center is in Montreal. Every copyright, invention, you have health, you have international law. Okay, so I go to the text of, he says, since it is abstract, the jus gentium abstract from particularity of different people, the jus gentium is great part an embodiment of natural law. And one who spoke about that is Saint Isidore of Sevilla. Saint Isidore is the last father of the church. Huh? In Spain, Saint Isidore. And Saint Isidore is interested by, like Bellarmine, in the future, Saint Robert Bellarmine. He said natural law is common to all people, because natural law is the instinct of, but natural law is common. Everyone has the same, every man has the same natural law. But according to their state, according to their countries, according to their climate, they have some adaptation. And those adaptations are included in the law of nations. I give you some examples. For example, the occupation of a territory. How a country can be allowed to occupy a territory, especially a territory that is not occupied, you know. It is not the abstract problem. Huh? Ukraine. Crimea is not at the time of Saint Isidore. It is today the same problem, you know. The building of fortification and the building of cities, wars, the laws in regard with wars. They are not in the natural law, but we must express, for example, the respect of prisoner. It is what the ISIS did not respect. They killed the prisoner, you know. They tortured the prisoner. But the international law, the law of nation, in fact, became the international law. It is from, what is the name of, I forget. The Red Cross was founded in Switzerland. And one of the first goal of the Red Cross was to respect the life of the prisoner. Because it is easier for a country to kill the prisoner than to feed them. Understand that? Huh? So they respect the prisoner. And that is very recent, 1850, about 1850. You know? So the problem of prisoner of war, the problem of enslavement. Enslavement exists today. And the country was the most enslaved in the world is Mauritania. In Mauritania, officially, they suppressed slavery in 1989, something like that. But in fact, that continues. And now those who defend the right of man, they speak. And the problem of Sudan is a problem of slavery. We celebrate in 2 days Saint Bakita. Saint Bakita, we said that in your... he was a slave. You know? So the problem of slavery, how we can deal with the problem of slavery, etc. All that is about the law of, from the law of nation. The international law is not an international law, but it is a foundation. You have, I give you some information about that here. So you can read, it is taken from Wikipedia. And especially the second part. For Eugensium, if you go to the third line, Roman lawyers and magistrates originally devised Eugensium as a system of equity. A system of equity applying to case between foreigners and Roman citizens. But don't forget, Roman citizen is not only for Rome. You remember St. Paul, when he was taken as a prisoner, he said, hey, be careful, I am a Roman citizen. I don't want to be judged at Jerusalem, so they sent him to be judged in Rome, because he was a Roman citizen. In fact, St. Paul has to apply the law of nation. He was a Roman. It was all those who live in the Roman Empire, they could be a Roman citizen. So the concept originated in the Roman assumption that any rule of law common to all nations must be fundamentally valid and just. You know, every law to be applied to everyone must must be just. And to practice that justice, the practice we call equity. Equity, it is the respect of the law, but not on the foot of the letter, but the spirit of the law. That is equity. Okay? And okay. Now the third part, the moral obligation law of the civil law. I come back to the civil law. So the civil law is not something new. Huh? As long as we have society, organized society, we have law, we call civil law. And civil comes from civis. Civis means a citoyen of the city. Huh? It's the equivalent of polis in Greek. Huh? Polis. Polis is the same as civis. Huh? So the civitas, civitas, it is the city. So the civis, so civil law is the law of the city. Forward. Huh? It's interesting, in Latin we say city, in Greek we say polis, political. In fact, civil law is a political law. But in our mentality, political is not the same thing. Huh? But strictly speaking, but is a politician is the one who is taking care of the police. That means taking care of the city. Huh? And you have a virtue, huh? We call civism, huh? The virtue of respecting the common good of the city, of the police. So when you see a police, you think, that is Greek. But he will not speak to you in Greek. But in fact, a police is the defender, a policeman is the defender, the protector of the city, police. I'm sure the majority of the people don't know that police means city, but you know. So when you see police, you say, that is my friend. And your friend sometimes like you so much, he give you a letter. Okay, so moral obligation. What kind of obligation the civil law can have? That is the problem. Okay, now we saw there is civil law. It is necessary to have a civil law. But how the civil law can oblige us? But that is very, very important. Huh? Okay? So the answer, if the state is a natural society, the answer will be different if the state is a contractual society. You remember we saw two kinds of society, two kinds of state. Huh? State, organized, society, natural, because of need of nature, family, and society for us is natural. Or society is contractual. Remember Hobbes, Rousseau, contractual. So in the society natural, it requires then the state law or the civil law take its power, its authority from nature. In fact, if I consider society as a natural reality, founded on natural law, when the society expresses what I have to do for the common good, that is an obligation, a moral obligation. It's the authority of natural law. So when I obey, when you stop at the right light, you obey the law, the civil law, pay your tax, you obey natural law. It is moral. So that aspect is not only a penal, it is a moral aspect. In fact, I obey my nature when I contribute to the common good. It is different to say that the government is a robber. Every year they rob my money, they steal my money. No, they don't steal. It is you who contribute to the common good of the society. As the society contribute for your good. Oh, what the society does for me? Mister, do you have a car? Yes, I have a car. Where do you drive? In the field? Oh, no, I drive on the highway. Ah, on the highway. Who clean the highway? Who pay? You have water in your house? Do you go to Connecticut River every day to collect your water? Oh no, I open the tap. Oh, who furnished that? Huh? So, who protect you against it? When you have a problem, you call 911. So, we must be aware. We give, but we receive more than we give. Nobody is able among us to build a bridge, to build a highway, to protect the country against the unjust invader, you know. Sometimes we forget that. You know, we are so selfish. We think only to receive. We forget to give. You know? Or we find that difficult. But it is the reason why we must have laws. You remember we start three levels of justice, like commutative, you remember? Well, justice between Joe Blow and another one, another Peter Johnson, okay? Equality. But from the whole, the state or the community, and to the individual, that is distributive justice. Okay? Well, distributive, what they distribute? They distribute the advantage, protection, a lot of school, etc. And they distribute also a bill, tax. They indicate how I have to share in the common good. No? It is the same in your community. It everywhere, the authority must indicate how I have to participate. For example, here we have dishwashing thing. Dishwashing. Dish thing. That is a participation in the common good. But to do that, you must be educated. It is your turn this morning, don't forget. You know? That is distributive justice. But when you wash the dishes, when you pay your taxes, you practice legal justice. That means you practice, you give to the common good something according to the law. It is not you who decide, I will give $5,000 in income tax. But when you pay $5,000 income tax because it is according to the law, you practice legal justice. So distributive justice, going from the common good to me, and legal justice from me to the common good. And when I do that, I obey natural law. Because by nature I am a social animal, and I must contribute to the common good. But by myself, I will not do that if I am not pushed by some law. The law of income tax, for example, the law of speed on the road, etc. Okay? It's interesting, people have difficulty to accept police, for example. They don't like the proof that we kill them. But when they have a problem, whom do they call? Police. Okay. Now, the individual, if there is no law or educated me how I will participate in the common good, what will be the consequence? It will be anarchic. That means it will be a mess. And when the police is not able to control the situation, you know what happened. Huh? People run in the store, they break, they steal, they have no control. Secondly, the lawmaker has at least, when the lawmaker express, when the government or the lawmaker, they express a law, they manifest a law, the law at least indicate that it is their will, their intention. When I pass a rule, I don't pass a rule only to have fun. I pass a rule that, suppose I am, you are the director of a high school, and you pass a rule, but with the parent of the high school, you decided no more gene, spirit gene with holes in the school, no more gene. That is a rule adopted by the parent of the teacher. Now it's a rule. Your job, it is to say, hey, you have gene, go back home, put normal pen and come back, you know. That is why because the law must have a certain obligation. A law is not only a simple wish. Oh, you know, we wish that American, we wish, it's a wish. They pay their income tax this year. It's a wish. No, a law is not a wish. A law is obligation. It's something, the legislator, when he passes a law, expresses his will that the law be applied. Because if a law is not able to be applied, it's a useless law. That is interesting. If you become a teacher a day or a superior, be careful not to proclaim laws that nobody can apply. That is very important. It's the reason why we must have a council with you to take a wise decision. Sometimes some people in authority, and because they are idealists, they proclaim a law, and finally nobody can put that into practice. A law, to be a real law, must have a force of obligation, and that is at least implicit in the expression of the law. Of course, when the government writes a law, it does not say, you are obliged in conscience from the natural law to stop at the right light. No. It says, stop at the right light, you know. But the intention is to oblige you to do that. You know? A law has a power of, otherwise if there is no power, a law is a simple wish. You know, if your father said, you know, my sweet child, oh no, I wish you go to bed. Huh? It's time to go to bed. You know? Oh yes, sweet father, I continue to watch television. Now your father say, hey, go to bed. Tomorrow you go to school. Go to bed. Because if you don't go to bed, no, we can, you know, no, they're queen. So that is important. A third point, the popular acceptance is not necessary for civil law. It's not necessary that everybody agrees with the law, that the law have a strong. It's the same in the community. It's not necessary that every member of the community, every sister, every brother, every priest agree. No. A law, when it is proclaimed by those who have the authority, oblige everyone. Of course, if you are sick, and you cannot wake up and walk out of your bed because you have a big fever, it's not the same. Normally, a law obliges everyone, even if you are not happy with that. But the law must be just, of course. An unjust law is not a law. The injustice suppress the obligation, the moral obligation to obey a law. So in a pure democracy, in fact, in a democracy where people intervene directly, a good example of that is Switzerland. In Switzerland, you have canton, on division we call canton. In some canton, some region, they vote raising their hand in public. And they have meeting. One of them is canton of Appenzell. The canton of Appenzell is a special canton. So they have referendum almost every 2-3 weeks. That means on Sunday, all the people who have right to vote must be, and that they proclaim and they vote, you know, or they vote in their village. That is direct democracy. No decision is taken without direct democracy. But it's not the case. Most of the time, the legislative power is given to one person or to a few persons together, to the legislator. And that is, and that person has really authority to order something, to organize something for the community. But it's not very difficult to. Now, how we can interpret the laws? How we can interpret? How we can explain that? So the interpretation of the law is its genuine explanation according to the mind of the legislator. Who is the one who can explain the law? It is the one who made the law. But Mr. X, who did that law, died. Jefferson is no more living. All those who make the Constitution in America, they are dead. Now we need someone to interpret the law. Huh? Or the law can be interpreted by the lawmaker himself, or by jurist, jurist or lawyer. They can interpret the law. The Supreme Court, for example, in the United States. Or also can be the custom. The people continue to do that, to do that, to do that, and nobody stopped that. So we say, well, that now is a kind of law. So the custom can become a law, but it must be a moral law, conform to morality. Okay? If the custom it is to drink, to be in some places after the on Friday night when the worker receive their pay, many stop at the tavern and they drink a little bit. It's a custom. When they come home, the wife say, "Hey, give me the money," but there is always a hole in the salary. The hole is thick in the tavern. So that is custom. And you have to fight against that. It's not moral. Every custom is not necessarily moral. To be moral must be conform to the natural law. But a good custom can become considered as a law. For in congregation, for example, maybe there is a custom to do something. For example, to say, to read a passage of the gospel before the meal, for example. There is nothing written, but since the founder, we did that, we did that. And now, we continue to do that. But strictly speaking, there is no law written, but it is the custom, you know. For example, when you meet your father and your mother on the New Year Day, or Christmas Day, or the 30th, what do you say? Happy New Year. You kiss them. It is a custom. It's not a law. If you arrive and you say to your father, Happy New Year, but you don't kiss him, can he say, okay, I will write to you a liar and pay a suit because he did not kiss me? That's interesting. Huh? Some customs are very powerful and they are not laws. Okay? Now, a problem when we speak about laws is the problem that we call the penal law. Penal law. Well, penal, you have the word punish, in Latin. Pain. We ask someone to pay, he is punished because he did not obey the law. We call penal law. But what is that? A law that imposes no obligation in conscience, but as a penalty attached to its violation. In conscience, you are not attached, you are not obliged in conscience. But in the circumstances, you are obliged. If you don't do that, you will pay a fine. So I give an example of that. You are a priest or a sister, and you pass in the village at 1 in the morning. In the village, it is written 30 miles per hour. Nobody, absolutely nobody, not a single cat, not a single dog is on the street. So you pass 60 miles per hour. There is no, in conscience, you are not obliged to observe something. There is no danger. But there is a car with a little red cherry. I say, hey, father. He says 30 miles per hour. Oh, I know it's the. But why do you go so fast? Oh, you know, I am driving to save a soul. In fact, in conscience, you commit no sin. But you did not observe the law. And you are obliged to pay a fine for that, you know. So that is, we call penal law. That is a discussion, because some philosopher, they say there is no penal law. Every law obliges in conscience. The other, they say, oh yes, there are penal law. Use your judgment. I give you another example. I was in Luxembourg. Luxembourg is a little state north of France. on the Easter Sunday, 1971, because I was studying in Paris at that time. And there is a station here, the station of the city, and a long street without intersection. Long. And here there is light for pedestrian, right? Light. So I was not, and I saw a young boy about 10 years old, 12 years old. There was no car, absolutely no car. And the boy stopped. And he stayed there. And when the light became green, he crossed the street. I was in admiration. I say, wonderful. So I came to Paris. I lived in a house in Paris with priests, only priests and deacons. We are a special residence. And I say, you know, I saw today in Luxembourg something wonderful. I told that, they say, crazy. It should have passed, there was nothing, you know. That is a good example of penal law. You know? In fact, the law say don't pass on the right line. So if you go to Switzerland, to Germany, they are very strict. There is nobody, but the light is there, right, stop. Okay? You go to France, the light is red, pass through. Italy the same. They say, you know, in fact, the law say don't pass on red light. But there is no car. I saw no car at all, no car. And the boy stopped, wait. Of course, he obeyed the law. But if I pass, did I commit a sin? I don't, I don't think. Because there is nothing morally impeding me to cross the street. I gave you another example of penal law. In Ottawa, there is an important street. You have the Parliament of Ottawa here. A street here is Bank Street. Bank Street. Okay? And in the rule, in the law of Ottawa, we are obliged to cross the street at the corner. We are not allowed to pass here. We must go to the corner, cross here, and if there is no here, you have to cross here, to pass here, and to go here. In fact, you have to obey, you know. If you pass, suppose I am here, and I want to go to the store on the other side, I am obliged to go to the corner to pass. If I pass here, I am illegal. If the police catch me, I pay $35 of fine. But who obeys? We look, nobody come in, we cross. No? Of course, if there is a policeman, I say, oh, I am a wayman, and I go to the corner. That is penal law. You understand by my example, huh? Penal law. Because there is nothing moral, there is nothing against morality here. But of course, if there is a lot of truck, car passing, full speed, that is immoral to cross, you know. Common sense, in fact, it is common sense. But some philosophers, so the problem is, are we obliged to obey that kind of law? Yes and no. Yes and no. No, if there is nothing against morality. Yes, if you are caught by the police. That you pay, you pay. But in fact, strictly speaking, to pass during the night, I cross the street during the night and there is nobody, I have no scruple to pass on the other side. Suppose my church is here and my rectory is here, I don't have the time to go to the corner, but the law is there. You know, the French have a joke about that. French people in Paris, when you cross the street, we don't have like system here, you know. We have a, how do you call that? Pedestrian, huh? Passer. Okay? But in Paris, they don't have that. They have, we call the clou. Clou in nail, huh? But they are huge, like that, you know, like that. And those clou, nail, are planted in the bricks, because they stone in Paris. Huh? And so you must pass between the we call passage clouté, nail passage. You have to pass there. So they say if you pass outside, if you cross the street outside of the passage piéton, of the pedestrian passage, you die illegally. If you pass inside, you die legally.
Father,
But you know, here you have to use your judgment. Huh? But be careful, we cannot say that every civil law is a penal law. Be careful. Because we proved before that the majority of the civil laws express natural law. So that means the majority, for the common good, oblige us in conscience. But someone like to stop to 30 miles per hour during the night, you know. Of course, it's the thing during the day, it's filled with boys and girls playing in the street. It's not the same. Yes, brother.
your example seems very clear, but I have another example, like the consequence. If the consequence is different, how can you answer for, like, example, if you are driving or rolling from the top of mountain and rolling down, and your brake, for example, if supposedly it's broken, you cannot control your trolley, and then you cannot turn. There's a boy sitting on the trick, and the other side five men. Would you turn or not turn? I mean, in that case, would you be morally wrong or not? Would you turn or not turn? If you turn, you kill 5 persons. I mean 5 people. If you not turn, well.
Here you touch a problem of ethics. We call the problem a cause with a double effect.
Yeah.
And Father Fagotti has an excellent interpretation of that. So good that we had here a conference given by one of the most important person for defense of life in the United States. And he gave a conference in this room. Yeah. And she passed us a document. It was the text of Father Fagotti. And she used that. It's very clear. So I think if you don't have that, but you have that in Father Fagotti. You have the book. It is when they speak about the causes. So the act with a double effect. I don't want to discuss that, but that take 1 hour only for that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? But, don't forget, if there is something happen, you are responsible.
Right.
Even if it is a penal law, and there is something, you have to pay for the consequence. Suppose at 3 in the morning you go 60 miles per hour, and suddenly the dog of someone passed the street, and you hurt the dog, but you have to pay. Because you destroyed the property of someone, But I will not say it is immoral in the sense that you did not intend to kill the dog. The dog arrived by, pure accident. So it's the reason why that is penalty. Penal law oblige in the measure you did something wrong, but you did not intend to do that. That is another case. Ethics is filled with cases. And there is a part of ethics we call casuistic, casuistic, to study the case. And I think many years the problem teaching ethics, the students are always cases. So in the role of ethics, they give the general principle. So the cases, you go to specialists, and the Jesuits are considered as the best for that, casuistic, we call that. Okay. So I will not insist too much on that. You can read by yourself. And those who are opposed to that kind of considering penal law as not obliging in conscience, they say every law obliges you in conscience. But others, they interpret, they say, no, they oblige you in conscience in the measure they are related with the common good of the people, of the good of the people. If there is absolutely nothing, I give you another example. You are in the forest. You are walking in the forest with your, and suddenly you see a duck, a Canadian coming from Canada, a duck. You kill it. And you have a good meal after. If it is outside of season, you are not conformed to the law of hunting. But, you know, if there is some policeman not far from a ranger, hey, father, hey, but that is it. It's not time for hunting. Oh yes, it's always time for hunting. So you have to pay a fine. You pay a fine, but of course, if you kill you kill thousands and thousands of duck, and that is different, you know. A question of equity, common sense, huh? Okay, common sense. So in summary, what we can say, two possible views about a moral obligation of civil law. 2, 3. Those who say all laws, all civil law oblige. That is the first position. All oblige. All laws, everyone oblige. Okay? The second position, that position seems too severe, huh? Contrary to the common opinion and the common practice. Everywhere, in every country, we have to practice equity. Equity. You know, not every letter of the law must be applied exactly like that. Okay. Secondly, those who say non-pure penal laws bind in conscience. No penal law at all. No penal law. Nothing which is penal law oblige in conscience. So, you know, you go too fast at noon in the at noon. You're in the city of Hartford. You go 60 miles per hour. You are not obliged. The civil law, the law does not oblige you in conscience. So we cannot accept that. Why? Because, in fact, civil law are most of the time the expression of natural law, precise natural law. It is not because the whim of the legislator that they say in Hartford we drive 30 miles per hour. Because 60 miles per hour is, you will have an accident, you will kill someone. It is, so that they apply the law of justice and respect of others, and they say that you will respect others if you drive at 30 miles per hour, no more, you know. That is, so we cannot say there is no civil law obliging, no. Some, I will say, the majority, that is my opinion, the majority of civil law oblige in conscience. Because if the law exists, there is a reason why it exists. So be sure. There is no valuable law without a reason, sufficient reason. So the legislator put that law. Maybe that law is obsolete. Maybe it is past because it was for the 19th century. We have to adapt to change. But the reason of the law is always for the common good. If a law is made for the good of someone, it's not a law. A law is for the common good. Sometimes some people I think for example where we live in Montreal, where the community wanted to build a house with many stores, many floors. And the property, the owner on the other side, he was one representative at the city of Montreal North. He opposed to that because it was an obstacle for his own interest, you know. So he passed a rule. He passed a rule for his interest. So that is not. When we pass a rule, when we pass a law, it's not for the common good, not for the interest of one or two persons. You know. And finally, someone say some laws, some civil law by in conscience, but not everyone by in conscience. I think that is the position taken now by the majority of ethicians. So we must. That is important because sometimes people say, "Oh, that is civil law. Oh, that is civil law." No law was made in vain. We always suppose that the legislator is honest, the legislator is wise. Of course, sometimes the legislator is corrupted. We have to fight. And that law does not exist. A law made by a corrupted legislator for the interest of someone is not a law. A law is for the common good. That's the criterion of a law. Okay? A superior, okay. Maybe I talked to you about the fact I was in community, and we have only one television for 15 brothers. I told that to you?
Yes.
Huh? So the superior say, who want to see the movie? And 10 brothers or 12 brothers raise their hand. We want to see hockey. 2. We say, okay, we see hockey. We watch hockey. No, a rule must be done for the common good. And sometimes people, as superior, they try to pass some rule to favor their own interest. It's not, corruption exists everywhere, except in heaven. Okay, so that is important because you have to deal with people about that. Those who become priests in the future, you have to discuss about that. How is it a sin for a Christian? Here I don't speak as a philosopher, I speak as a theologian, because if I say sin, it's not philosophy. So if it's a sin, for example, to drive 75 per hour. It can be. Where did you drive? Oh, I drive on the highway. Oh, no, it's not the sin. I drive in Hartford at 5 p.m. That is a big sin. And you know who spoke about that? Pius XII. Pius XII spoke about that. The sin we commit when we drive. It's comic, It's funny. Because he was aware that justice must be applied concretely. So the civil law are not only penal law. Okay? Now, what about taxation? Oh, it's finished? Oh, yeah. So taxation, punishment, they are the application. But the principle I gave you, you can use that. So I invite you to read what is about taxation. In fact, it is an application of what I spoke to you. And the death penalty, and the position in regard of the death penalty. Okay. Happily, there is a plot here.